good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Life Coaching Access, your daily access with professional certified life coaches, brought to you by Life Coach Philippines. Life Coach Philippines is our community of professional life coaches certified by the Global Institute for Coaches and Entrepreneurs, a bona fide institute for mental health that is based in Dallas, Texas, USA. Life Coaching Access is our service to the community, and we aim to help individuals experience the process of transformation through the platform of life coaching. If you want to know more about our international coaching classes and services, please connect with Coach Roselle through 0917-586-1661 for assistance. By the way, I am Coach Tony for En Route to Forgiveness. Moving on begins with Mindshift. Your access with me is every 2 p.m. every Sunday. And for my segment today, I will be sharing you episode 3, Goals. Please tag your friends in the comments below and invite them to join our conversation. You may also share this FB Live to your timeline and FB groups and pages so that we can reach more people and help transform lives. All right. So I would also like to invite you, if for those who haven't registered yet, to the Mental Health Certification Program. Please join us on this 3-day program on December's 5, 6, and 12. And for more information, please contact Coach Roselle through the number that's shown here, 0917-586-1661. Or you can go visit our website at www.globalcoachentrepreneur.org. All right. So for those who haven't, who have this, if this is your first time meeting me, hi, I'm Tony, or Coach Tony. My specialty is with younger people and millennials and relationships as well. As a life coach, I don't give advice. I'm not a guru. And as I mentioned earlier today, for today's topic, we'll talk about goals. But first, a recap. Just give a quick recap on the 2 topics that we discussed before. So, as we learned in our first episode, we have to be vulnerable, and we can be more open about what we can accept and what we can learn. In discovering ourselves, we help self-discover and find the different paths in order to take so that we can properly self-discover ourselves. Um, so in last week's episode, we discussed the 4 different routes. So now let's merge the 2. Let's merge acceptance and self-discovery, or discovering the self. But first, a question. What do we want to accomplish in our lives? If I were to ask you, fellow viewer, what is something that you wish to accomplish in your life? Another question I'd like to ask is, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations growing up? Or anything really, whether it be current goals or future goals. Hello, Coach Tin. Thank you for joining me today as well. All right. While you have those 2 questions in the back of your mind, let's start. So once you're able to admit to something and you have discovered something yourselves, how do we move forward with our lives? And that's where goals come in. Finding out our goals helps us in 2 ways. 1, it helps us visualize where we need to go and how to get there. And as I alluded to earlier, it gives us directions or a roadmap of where we want to go. So, given those 2 things that I just mentioned, I have some questions once again. What are our personal goals? What's something you really wish to accomplish personally? If you can answer that, what motivates us? Or why does our goals motivate, or what motivates our own personal goals? What motivates you to move forward with what you need to do? Or what is something that is making you want to achieve that goal. And for those goals that you may you may have struggled with, what's stopping you from achieving that goal? What's something that's stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve? While I can't answer all of your questions, I hope I can help you visualize what you can do in order to do what you can, or what you can, or to do the best that you have with the current goals that you want to achieve. I'll talk first about two different types of goals. You have your long-term goals and your short-term goals. So what's the difference between the two, if I were to ask you? Well, short-term goals are something that you can do in the here and now, and they are very easy to accomplish. You can do them in about almost a year or less. So an example of this is you wanted to eat lunch or a snack because you're hungry, or you're trying to finish a deadline that's fast approaching, or just buying groceries, or anything at all. It just can be as simple as getting from here to there. When I mean here to there, I mean something like you getting a ball pen because you need to write something, or you need to print something. That's really a short-term goal in a nutshell. For long-term goals, however, it's something that requires more planning for the future. It's really more challenging this way, and it takes 12 months or more to accomplish. So an example of this is how you plan to retire, or your travel plans. We know that COVID and the pandemic has halted or shifted our travel plans. So um, you have to plan ahead with what you want to do in the future. Hi, Coach Sean. Thank you. Thank you for being with me today. All right. Another example would be career plans or your own personal career growth. So with your personal career, if you have one, it takes roughly around 2 to 3 years, or 1 year if you're really diligent, or a year and a half. Um, but how you want to see yourself in the next 5 years as well. How you want to, where do you want to go from here? So, given the two goals that I just mentioned, long-term and short-term goals, what would be easier for us to do? I'm pretty sure for most of us it would be short-term goals. But really, what I want to ask now is what would be necessary for us? So, not because the short-term goals can only get so far, but long-term goals helps us with where we need to go, with what's necessary. And if you think about your long-term goals, you can build around more short-term goals in this regard. What's easy for us sometimes is not what we necessarily need. This can apply to not just goals, but in life in general. Say, for example, you need money, like right now, and you're in a bit of a financial instability or some sort. The easiest way to get money is to steal money from someone, or rob a bank, but it will not serve you, really. It won't be the right thing to do. If you want money, sometimes you can ask someone for a loan, or ask a or get a job, or get a career that you want to do, or start your own business. Sometimes the easiest thing, again, as I mentioned earlier, will not serve you. So let's pause for a moment and reflect on the questions that I've thrown earlier. What are some of the things, what are some of your goals that you want to achieve? What's stopping you from achieving those goals? And for the goals that you have with you right now, what motivates you? What drives you forward with them? Each of those questions can help you visualize what you want to do or what you think you need to do so that you can move forward. So how do we go about this now? Or how do we help visualize where we need to go? Well, I'd like to introduce the concept of SMART goals. Now, SMART goals are goal are is or rather is a way to help visualize how to do long-term goals, so to speak. Oh, sorry. For the question we answered earlier, um, something that we necessarily need to do for the most part is long. So how do we help manage our own long-term goals? Goals is broken down into SMART, or specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely or time-bound. So you can find this on the internet. I found this figure on the web, um, and all of them mention the same thing. For S, it's specific. So when they mean specific, it's state exactly what you want to accomplish. Or the question that you should ask yourself is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do in your life? What is it? What is the thing that you want to achieve? Next is measurable. So when we define measurable, it's the use of smaller mini goals to measure our progress. The question you have to ask yourself here is, how will you know when you've reached it? How will you know you've reached the goal that you want to achieve? How will you find that thing, or what is the measuring tool that you use to designate where you need to go or where you are currently? Is it an hour? Is it hours? Is it days? Is it months? Years? Next is achievable. Um, and what I mean by this is make your goals achievable. And what I mean by this, or what you should ask yourself is, can you accomplish this? Can you accomplish the goal that you want to do? If you set yourself up too highly of yourself, maybe you and if you still want to achieve it, maybe you have to adjust where you need to go. Or if your goal is too unattainable, how how can you adjust the goal that you set yourself on? Next is realistic, or R for realistic. What we mean by this is set a goal that is relevant to your life. So set a goal that's realistic to you right now. Like for example, let's say you want a car, um, and how realistic can you get a car right now? If you're financially stable, maybe you can get it within the next few days. Or if you aren't, or if you're in a bit of trouble, then maybe you can postpone that for now. And you should ask yourself, can you realistically achieve it? So with the car example earlier, as I alluded to, how realistic can you get the thing that you want? And lastly, timely or time bound, sorry. And that is basically to give yourself time, but you have to set the deadline. So sometimes when we're very excited about our own personal goals, excuse me, we want to achieve it as fast as possible. But sometimes we lose our own way when we get to that goal. A perfect example of this would be revenge. Revenge is not always good. Sometimes you are blinded by what you want or by your own anger or rage that you completely forget what all that you need to do. So the question you should ask yourself in regards to timeliness is when can you exactly accomplish it? So when should you be able to, or when do you want to say that you finished your goal? So with smart goals, we are able to, with with the steps that's presented here, we can help visualize where we need to go. So here's a perfect example. Let's say that you want to be a doctor, let's say, for example. So we ask ourselves these questions. What do you want to do? Do you want to become a doctor? And how will you know when you reach being a doctor? Well, for most, it would just be getting a PhD and practicing the profession. And how can you accomplish it? Well, go through medical school, go through medical training, get a residency in a hospital, maybe intern, or maybe specialize in something. Can you realistically achieve it? Yes, you can. Um, you can, though it may take some time, maybe years, maybe a lifetime of learning. Yes, it's still possible. And when can you say that you've accomplished being a doctor? Well, for some people, sometimes it'll be when they have their own clinic or when they have their own office, or sometimes they just say, "I'm a doctor for life," or though they're non-practicing because they never renewed their license. Um, maybe maybe because they're a medical student or maybe they still want to learn, then yeah, it's something that they can say that I've reached it. um, this can apply to a lot of different things as well. mm, and not just the long-term goals but with short-term goals as well. So let's use this smart goals as a short-term goal, for example. Let's say that um, let's say that what's a good example here? Let's say that I would like to give this presentation, the goals for today, or my presentation on goals. So what is it that I want to do? Me specifically, I want to present all my viewers here go my the topic for today, which is goals, and how does goals relate to having a transformational mindset. How will you know when I've reached getting? How will I know if I've reached the end of my presentation or reached the end of this? Well, at the very end of the slide, which is the very last slide, and can I accomplish it? Yes, because I'm currently talking to you directly, the viewer. Is it realistic? Well, I'm currently here, but yes, it's very realistic and timely. Um, when can you say I've accomplished it? Well, at the very end of this episode. So, smart goals can apply to anything really, but more specifically for what we want to do is it helps us with our own personal long-term goals. So, how can I start my goals? Let's ask ourselves, how can we get there? I can share with you four ways that we can get there. One, the first thing, begin with an end in mind. So, when you want to do something, you always think of, gosh, I really want to do this. It's that thing that you're trying to achieve. That helps sets our direction, or that helps us set our viewpoint or navigation tool or anything to where we need to go. Next, I would like to share with you, you have to work with someone. So when I say work with someone that can help you with your long-term goals. So that can be a friend, a family member, a fellow coach, or maybe yourself. What I mean by that is that you just got to find someone that can be your accountability partner, which I will discuss in my next episode, where accountability is everything. Accountability will help you. An accountability partner will help you navigate all of this because because knowing yourself or accepting yourself and knowing yourself or discovering yourself as well as having goals is good, but without the proper accountability that you need to work together or merge these three things, then it will not be as effective. So work with someone, work with anyone, work with your loved one, work with anyone really. The third thing I'd like to share is be flexible but be very firm. What I mean by this is our goals should be flexible enough, or our goal should be firm enough to state that I want this, I want to do this, but it should still be flexible and not be too rigid or not be too narrow minded or narrow or have a tunnel vision of sorts. They should have an endpoint, but the goals should be flexible enough to adjust if need be. So, say for example, during you wanted to travel anywhere really, and you planned for this last year, 2019, but there was an unexpected thing that happened where where there's a natural disaster or a pandemic, especially now in the time of COVID. So, how much willing are you to adjust to everything that you've encountered or everything that you've experienced so far, or your plans rather? Um, will you just say, "Oh, I'll just give up and maybe I'll scrap all my plans for this year because of the pandemic," or will you postpone it, or will you push for other things next for the next year or or the next couple years after this? And lastly, it it helps sets our own directions to where we want to go and where we need to go and where we have to go. Knowing our own goals helps direct our lives or where we want to go to where we need to go. Um, it helps pinpoint where we are currently and how we want to navigate the world. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes the easiest goals or the easiest things are not what's necessary for us. And as with the example earlier of needing money, yeah, you can get money by robbing someone or stealing money from a bank, but having that having the necessary ways to get there, because there are multiple ways of getting there, but having that necessary way to get there is something that we have to build up. So why am I saying all of this, or what's the end goal here? With acceptance, we are able to accept who we are as a person, to accept our own flaws, to accept what we need to accept, or accept what everyone says of us, or what truths that we have to say for ourselves. With discovering ourselves, we see all the blind spots that we need to achieve, or we don't know for ourselves. And for goals, our topic for today, we talk about how we are, how we must navigate through life or through our goals. And we have to merge those three together in order to help help build up our own knowledge, our own expertise with something, or have that way of trying to get where we need to go. So I'll leave you with one last question. What are your goals? What is that thing that you want to accomplish? And well, as a follow-up question, how do you want to get there? So, thank you for joining me today. As we end today's episode, let me invite you to visit our coaching hub at the D Cup Coffee Republic, located at the Pioneer Center or PC compound along Pioneer Road, corner Brixton and United Streets, Capitolio, Pasig City. It's just around or just across the Bayanihan Center. And our coaching hub is open physically from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. only, but virtual operations is 24/7. And we offer coaching services on demand anytime of the day, any day of the week as well. Please connect with Coach Rizal through 0917-586-1661 for your coaching needs. And again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week, same day, same time. Love Bamboo.